So, what happened to Phase 4? My name's Zoe, my brain's a dragon, and I should probably catch you up on the art of shenanigans that kind of was, and is only a was because deadlines. Phase 4, it turns out, is significantly harder than I had thought. No one should be surprised by this, considering that I gave it very little thought in the beginning. You know all those problems that in Phase 3, and how I didn't fix them when I thought that I had? Yeah, it turns out that there were big problems in Phase 4 that were based on the problems in Phase 3, and when you don't fix the small thing, it escalates and causes, issues. Phase 4 was supposed to be, basically, a really detailed outline. I had found, with doing a few other bits and pieces in the Stage 3, when I went from, say, Rock Your Plot to the more detailed Romancing the Beat outlines, that I was able to do a lot more words in the same amount of time when I had an idea of what I was doing. My theory was that if I had a detailed outline for my nano novel, I would have a much better time getting the words that I needed to do done because I would have some idea what I was doing. It also really leaned into the ideas that I had seen in Rachel Aaron's 2K to 10K, where she does sketches of scenes before she writes them, and she had found that to be really effective, and I really like that idea. I also know that there is a great adage around that the first 10 ideas for something you come up with will largely be cliche, and so you'll probably chuck them out. I am an incredibly lazy individual when it comes right down to it, and if I have to write a scene 10 times, I would prefer to be doing that at a sketch level, so it's only a couple of hundred words, rather than at an actual prose level, so that it's a few thousand words every time. I know, it's out there, it's wild, it certainly doesn't fit in with the theme of Nano, which is put the words down on paper, no one cares how good they are. But I have done my share of nanos. I am trying to increase my skill set because if you're going to have a writing challenge, you might as well have it tailored for you. Phase 4 was designed to set me up so that when I faced that challenge, I would be totally ready and I'd be rocking it. That didn't happen. I did have a look at my previous notes and I went, yeah, okay, this makes some sense. I've got a few different, more detailed outlining books that I can use. That'll be fine. I've got the manuscript shredder, which I really like because it's got the plots broken down into 30 pieces so that you know exactly what you're writing every day. Makes it nice and easy, theoretically. And then I also had the Sterling and Stone 40 sentence outline, and I had a few other bits and pieces that I could then use to color scenes and give it more depth. All of the tricks that are in Save the Cat and all of the things to keep in mind from Heroine's journey, and I thought that was going to be perfect. I was wrong. Very, very wrong. And it taught me a lot. The main thing it taught me is that I can overthink basically anything. My brain dragon and I have overthinking down to an absolute art, my friend. And when you spend an hour and a half trying to figure out whether or not you should have a particular series of events, or a different series of events, or a slightly adjusted series of events, all of which lead to the same information coming across, you maybe start to think about perhaps adjusting your process because there's clearly some level of decision paralysis going on, and perhaps we need to work that out. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, depending on which way you look at it, Nano is basically here. That means I don't have any more time to do Phase 4, and that means I need to start thinking about what I'm doing in terms of National Novel Writing Month itself, because the planning has been fantastic and I've learnt a ton. And it also means that I can test out some of the concepts from Phase 4, like the scene sketches, and try them in an actual practical sense, and that means I might be able to have more information about how I want it to work and how my brain dragon and I cooperate, or don't. Let's be honest, or don't is also an option, and I can apply it before the next nano project that I do. Remembering that there are also 2 camps during the year, so there are 2 other opportunities to test out projects. That's next year me's problem. So, Phase 4. I did manage to get through the manuscript shredder, but because I have read The Heroine's Journey by Gail Carriger between the last time that I needed it and this time, I have discovered that I don't like the way the scenes sort of work with that because they're very hero's journey. And that's fine. Most of the time, you can just woggle it in your brain and it's fine. Brain Dragon has opinions. Brain Dragon just wanted it to be easy because Brain Dragon had been spending a month planning and was tired at this point. So we didn't really get very far from the manuscript shredder outline to the sketch draft because there were a number of scenes that were in my Romancing the Beat outline which just didn't really fit in the manuscript shredder outline. And then I thought about it and I realized that the last time that I had used the manuscript shredder outline, I had this really weird tension between what I wanted to be writing and what I felt was necessary for the story and what was appropriate for the scene directives, which I should have gone with my gut on that one, but let's be honest, I was also testing the manuscript shredder and it worked like an absolute charm. So I wasn't concerned about it at that point, and it wasn't a story that I had spent as much time planning. I literally decided very close to Nano what I was writing, and I just needed a tool to get me through, and it got me through. I got my 50,000 words, we were golden. This time, I'm doing more prep work. I'm more deliberate about what I want, and I'm able to assess the tool and my need and see whether or not they line up. I don't think the manuscript shredder lined up as well as I would have wanted this time, which then made me feel uneasy, and then when I went to try and work out the sketch draft or the and then draft, I carried over that uneasiness. And Brain Dragon is particularly good at uneasy. In fact, Brain Dragon and Anxiety, it just like, it's its favorite shiny object, but it does get into that whole, we can't make a decision because we have all of this shiny anxious that we are trying to carry at the same time, and decisions are really heavy and we're not putting any of the anxious shiny down. So I didn't manage to get a whole lot done. I did get the first theoretical 10 chapters done. I can then have a look and see whether or not I can use those and whether or not I'm going to be able to sit down and adjust them and get them to play. But that's as far as I got with my and then draft. It's still further than I've got in a very long time. In fact, basically forever, if you don't count prose drafts as and then drafts, which sometimes we really ought to. So I'm really pleased with that. But phase 4 is currently under construction. We are going to figure it out eventually, I'm sure, because I now have a new thing to play with and it's going to work. I just have to work out how. But we tried. And that was the important point. I was never really expecting to get phase 4 done, so I'm not entirely disappointed that I didn't. I am a little disappointed, and by a little disappointed I mean I've had a good cry about it and I've come to terms with the fact that perhaps I hadn't planned this out, and it's fine. You're allowed to not plan things out correctly and then work on it next time so that it's improved. We learned from this. It didn't fail, it just wasn't set up to succeed, and that's cool. Phase 4 did give me a lot of really good information. It told me that I really need to lean into the heroine's journey, that I need to go back and read that, and it also reminded me that I need to go back and check some of my other references like Chris Fox's 5k per hour and Rachel Aaron's 2k to 10k. They're both really good books, and you know what? That's fantastic. The fact that I am this far along and that I have so many tick sheets, you should see the amount of tick boxes I have right now. Like, I've got this one, which is the Save the Cat, Romancing the Boot, and Rock Your Plot, all on one page. And I even have the entire manuscript shredder printed out with tick boxes so that I can tick it off as I go, because I thought it was a good idea, and it might be because that's how I can judge whether or not I've got 1, 2, or 7 things in a scene, because the more it does, the less words I need to write. So I am going to call phase 4 here because we're out of time, and that's perfectly fine. Now that we know how phase 3 needs to work, maybe next time we have a month to prepare, we might find that phase 3 is easier, and with phase 3 being easier, that might give us more time for phase 4, and that would be really cool. But I have a cup of tea to drink. I have some running around and logistics to do to get this story ready to go, and there are definitely adventures to be had. I will see you next time. Bye, lovely.